What's up, everybody? Welcome to Human Innovation Tarot. My name is Eddie with Imagine Life Development Center. And today we are going to be taking a look at the second half of 2025. If you're new to my channel, I would appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. If you find this information valuable, all the other information you need to know is in the description box below. You can also book a personal or private reading. And with that being said, we're going to just jump straight in. So, all the way back in January, right at the beginning of the new year, I posted a two-part video. There's a part one and a part two. And over the last 6 months, for those who've been keeping up, I've been saying repeatedly that these two videos were the most important videos that I would be posting until about June or July. And now that we're in, now that we're finally in June, I've decided that it feels time. I mean, we're halfway through 2025 now, which is kind of crazy to think about because it's happened so fast. But I decided that it was a good time to go ahead and pull on the second half of the year. So just as a really quick review, I'm not going to go over everything because that videos, I still have those two videos listed on the channel, and I highly recommend that if you haven't watched those, then go back and watch those two videos because they're still going to be relevant. Because I explain everything that is going to be a continuation, or I should say this video is going to be a continuation of everything that I explained there. But just as a quick overview, we are in a universal year number 9. Numerologically speaking, I can't talk, but in numerology, cycles or periods occur through 9-year cycles. So it starts at a 1 year, goes through a 9-year. The 1 year is the beginning of the cycle, new beginnings, new start, starting new things, starting a whole new chapter. And the 9-year is the end, the closeout of a cycle. Removing things that are no longer serving us, tying up loose ends, cutting things out of our life, and kind of doing like an inventory or an audit of our life up to this point. So the last time that we were in a, the last time that we were in a 9-year cycle would have been 2016, I believe. So if you think back to 2016 and 2017, what was going on in your life? Because that would have been around the time of the last universal 9-year cycle. And when I say universal, I just mean when you add up the year and reduce it to a single digit, 1 through 9. So 2025, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9. And this affects everybody. And so this year is all about closing out the last 9-year cycles, removing things that no longer serve us. It has to do with us understanding and recognizing what's been working, what's not been working. What have we learned in the last 9 years? Have we changed? Have we grown? Have we evolved? Have we, adapted to the global energies? Have we adapted to the way that the world has changed? And have we adapted to changes in our own life? In other words, when you look back over the last 9 years, can you see and identify change in your life? Hopefully intentional change, but if, some change is obviously better than no change. Now, of course, we're all going to go through some degree of change, whether we like it or not. I mean, it was only 5 years ago the whole world shut down. We had a pandemic, right? So there's always going to be sort of uncontrollable, unforeseen events that are occurring in the world around us, politics, natural disasters, health, things on a global scale, and then things on a personal scale. However, living to how do I want to say this? If the only change that occurs in our life is based on the external world, the external reality, then we're living unconsciously. We're living an unconscious life. We're just kind of stuck in the matrix, just kind of going with the flow and being guided however life dictates. And for most people, that's living in their comfort zone. It's doing the same things, living your routine, going to work every day, coming home, doing your routines, like whatever, the same stuff most people do. And for most people, not a lot really changes from one year to the next. Again, outside of unexpected things, or what we call life happening. That's unconscious living. The opposite of that would be conscious living, meaning you are in the driver's seat of your life. Or as I like to say, you're the magician. You are the leader of your own life. You are the creator of your own reality. You are aware of, the challenges, the hurdles, the obstacles, the things that are working, the things that aren't working. You're aware of your own patterns, or at the very least, you're working to become aware of your patterns. And you understand what's required of you to make the shifts and changes in your life to move towards your dreams, your goals, and desires. Even if you haven't, even if you're not seeing the level of progress that maybe you desire, maybe you haven't accomplished certain things, maybe you haven't acquired certain things, maybe you haven't, maybe you haven't met the man or the woman of your dreams yet. Maybe you haven't found, a healthy relationship yet. Maybe you haven't started, your passion project. Maybe you haven't really figured out what your main purpose in life is, or you haven't accomplished maybe some financial goals, or you haven't figured out, that area of your life, right? And all of that's fine. It's not really, life is not really so much about getting to a specific destination, because when we arrive at a destination, then there's just the next destination. It's just a continuation. Life is just a continuation of moving from one event to the next event, or a continuum of experiences. That's really what life is all about, because that's all that there is. Everything else in between us, our birth and our death, is, just an illusion, essentially, because we can't take any of this stuff with us. The only thing that we're going to take with us are the experiences that we have in this lifetime. And that could be debatable depending on who you talk to, because, we don't really 100% know what happens after we die. But I am of the belief that we do choose to be here. I'm of the belief that there are past lives, and that once the soul leaves the body, that we just cross over to the other side of the veil, and we become fully aware of all of our past lives. We become fully aware of all the experiences and lessons and things that we went through here on this earth plane. Excuse me. And it's the collection of those experiences that we have here and the lessons that we learn. That's really what life ultimately is about. And I could go into a much, deeper conversation about that, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is understanding, first of all, what this specific 9 universal year is about that sets it apart from all the other ones. Coming into 2025, like right out of the gate, there was, a ton of planetary shifts, astrologically speaking. there was major planetary shifts. Pluto changed signs. We've had other planets, what's known as kind of like the generational planets, the ones that are far, far out that take, decades, even in some cases, lifetimes to change signs. And then we have the inner planets or the personal planets, that change anywhere between, 1 to 20 years, the ones that are, closer to us, so to speak. And so we've had a lot of shifts astrologically speaking. And so in a sense, this year's kind of, it kind of marks the end of an era of humanity. And, we don't see it right now because we're in it, a lot like perhaps maybe back in the year 2000, and it's like we had the big Y2K thing back in the year 2000, and we had no idea just how quickly things would change and escalate. And then right on the other side of the year 2000, when we got into 2001, at least here in the U.S., we had 9/11 happen, and that was a major event that changed this country forever. It changed the way that we travel, the way that we fly. It was a huge marker and milestone in U.S. history. And then as we progressed through the 2008, the collapse of the market, the housing market, and the I guess kind of somewhat of the business world, all of that stuff. And as we've moved into, I would say, like the last few years, like 2019, or actually before that even, we got into, I don't know what, maybe 2013, we started to see technology change, the invention of the iPhone, which revolutionized everything. I mean, having, this device that has everything on it. It's got internet, phone, a camera, video, it's got access to everything. Basically a personal computer that takes, a lot of appliances and put it all into one. And so that was a revolutionary change. And then things have just kind of exploded since then. And now, we live in this kind of technological, I don't know, it's like we're in this crazy speed, this pipeline where things are just happening so quickly now. We have AI and all kinds of crazy things going on, right? And so all this to say is that while these 9-year cycles will continue to repeat forever and ever and ever, they're not all created equally. Some 9-year cycles are very uneventful. Other 9-year cycles are milestones. They're pivotal moments where, or I should say pivotal moments in history where the world changes, or where maybe even in your own personal journey, if the world isn't going through any major changes, maybe you've gone through some crazy changes in the last 9 years. And we're all going to go through some degree of major challenges at some point in our life. So, if you're my age, I'll be 44 this year. So I've gone through about 4 of these cycles. And so, and I've had at least one substantial change every 9-year cycle, right? Some bigger than others. So it's important to understand that this year specifically still has the potential to be one of the best years of our lives, or potentially one of the worst years of our lives. And this is really my point here. And this is what I talked about in the videos that I recorded back in January, which I've referred to earlier. You can still find those here on the channel. It's just simply called the Universal Year 9, Part 1 and Part 2, the 2 separate videos. And again, I highly recommend that you go watch those if you haven't yet, and that will help you understand what's going on this year and how to make sense of maybe some things that have already happened. So what I'm going to be doing in this video specifically is looking at kind of what we can expect between now and December, because now we've reached kind of like the halfway point. And I feel intuitively, and of course, once I start pulling cards in a second, we'll get messages from the divine. But intuitively, I feel that for a lot of us, and so we're dealing with there's two groups of people that this is going to apply to, and this isn't me being, I'm not the one that makes this up. This isn't me in my bias, or I'm just the messenger, basically. Okay. But the purpose of this year for humanity is it's kind of like a come to Jesus moment with humanity. So, because where we're headed and the direction that we're going starting in 2026, because that'll be the beginning of a whole new 9-year cycle, but starting in 2026 and, moving forward, our world as we know it is going to begin to shift and change. Life as we know it is going to start to look and feel very different. And this has been predicted by many, many spiritual people that aren't spiritual, but are very in tune and very, I would say, experts of like astrology, even science, like, everyone who pays attention to history, to cycles, whether you consider yourself spiritual or not, everybody has been anticipating, some major changes in humanity, in the way that we do life. And that's not necessarily to be taken as a bad thing or a scary thing, because there's good and bad. It's just, it's new, it's different, and it's a realm that we've never traversed or explored before as humans. And I do think that it's going to include the change of a lot of the ways that we have been used to doing things in the last few hundred years. I mean, we could see the way that we've exchanged money change. We could see money go away altogether. We could go to digital currency or something like that. We may see the political landscape change, where we don't have a two-party system anymore. Maybe we don't even have a president per se. And then there's the whole technological side of things. So there's a lot that has the ability to bring a lot of exciting changes, even though they might be scary because it's so new that we've never experienced anything like it before. But then, of course, there are going to be the challenges that come with it. And so that's all kind of like in the 3D, like the natural world. Now, on the spiritual side of things, we're being called to continue to grow and evolve on a level of human consciousness. And that's really more where my channel comes into play, because the work that I do and the gifts that I've been given are more about connecting to the divine and bringing forth messages that are intended to help you all and myself grow spiritually speaking. What's in our highest good? Are we truly connected to who we are in our divinity? Or are we stuck in the material matrix of this world? Meaning, we're just connected to what we can touch and feel, and what we can interact with in our five senses. Are we obsessed with materialism, money, objects? Are we obsessed with our human or animalistic indulgences? Pleasure, what we can eat, sexuality and entertainment and distractions and all these things. Like, are we evolving as, a spirit, a soul, a consciousness that's inside of a human body, or are we devolving? Are we losing our divinity, right? And so everything that's happening this year is affecting both worlds because we live in a dualistic reality, as above, so below, as within, so without, right? So this transformational energy is affecting us on both planes of existence, the invisible realm and the tangible realm. And if you take one or the other for granted, or if you take both for granted, then you're probably going to have the most challenges. Life is going to be extremely unforgiving, because you're either on board with what's going. You're either riding the tide or you're trying to resist the tide. So it's kind of like if you're on a river and the current is taking you down river, and the purpose is for you to just float down the river and let the river do all the work, then things are going to work fairly easy for you. But if you're trying to swim upstream against the current, life is very difficult. It's very challenging. And it's not that the river that you're on, or that we're all on, it's not that the river is cruel or mean or has it out for you and not somebody else. It's not that the divine is picking and choosing, who suffers and who doesn't, who gets the blessing, who gets the curse, or any of that. It's just that some people understand, because they're more spiritually aware of what's going on. They're able to adapt to the change the change of the season that we're in, so to speak. And when I say season, I don't mean the literal seasons like spring, summer, fall, and all of that. I'm talking about the season that we're in collectively at this point in the human story. So the purpose of this year is to help us all get into alignment with our divinity, to release the things that are no longer serving us, to release the things that are holding us back, and to look inward and to make the changes that are necessary so that we can move forward and benefit from, the blessings and the changes that are going to come whether we want them to or not. Like basically, going with the flow. And so much as we're willing to go with the flow and ride the current, ride the wave, and remain connected to our divinity, then we will be in the group of people this year who potentially might have one of the best years of our lives. Like starting out a whole new 9-year cycle, coming at it, going into it, starting off with a bang, in a good way. And I talked about all of this in the two videos, the 2-part video that I mentioned that I did back at the beginning of the year, that essentially there's two groups of people. One group of people are going to be very resistant, very complacent, very checked out, not paying attention, doing the same things, expecting a different result, not embracing change. And essentially those people could very possibly have one of the absolute worst years of their lives. And that's not an exaggeration. This could be literally like one of the worst years of your lives. You could 10, 20, 30 years down the road, you'll be looking back at 2025 and you'll be saying, man, 2025 was the worst year of my life. Conversely, those of you that are willing to align to the energy of what's happening because you take this information seriously, then you'll be on the other side of the coin. You'll be in the other group of people where this is potentially one of the best years of your lives. So again, 10, 20, 30 years down the road, you'll look back at 2025 and you'll go, man, 2025 was one of the best years, if not the best year of my life, because it's the year that everything changed. And so this is that time. And so June would be a really good time to kind of have a mid-year, an honest do an honest audit, take inventory of your life. Where are you? What's changed since January? You know, 6 months has kind of gone by pretty quick. You know, what's changed? What hasn't changed? You know, what have you been working on? What have you been focused on? What's working? What's not working? What have you noticed? What haven't you noticed? Inside of yourself, more importantly, but also outside of yourself. And do you sense? Do you feel? Are you noticing? You know, synchronicities or dreams or anything that's coming into your awareness that's, you know, trying to get you to think a certain way or a different way, or to be a certain way, or to be a different way, to let go of something, to acquire something, to pay attention to something. What's happening in your life that you might be aware of that could be an indication of the types of changes that are necessary for you to benefit from what this year is here to offer you, or what things are you potentially ignoring that could end up causing you a lot of distress, pain, and unnecessary suffering between now and December. So with all that being said, I feel that these first 6 months of 2025 have really been kind of like, it's kind of like it's the divine has given us kind of like a chance to take the test, right? So to speak. It's like back in school when you would have to take a test in class, and you know, you were only in class for so long. And it's like, okay, well, you have between now and when the bell rings to take your test. But when the bell rings, you have to turn your paper in. That's it. So you either answer all the questions by the time the bell rings and you turn in your paper, or the bell rings and you didn't answer the questions, or you didn't get through the entire test, and, you know, you're going to take a hit for what you didn't complete. And so the first 6 months is kind of like the divine's given us this chance to, you know, evaluate what's been working, what hasn't been working, and to really kind of take this energy serious. And intuitively, I feel that between, you know, as we start to progress through June on out through December, you know, this is when the rubber's going to start hitting the road. In other words, if this year has seemed kind of quiet for you, if it seems like, well, nothing too wild has happened yet, yeah, this is the calm before the storm for those who aren't doing the things necessary to avoid the storm. Okay. So if you're somebody and you haven't been doing anything, and you've been feeling and sensing that something needs to shift or change, and you've been ignoring it, or you've been ignoring signs and synchronicities out here that have been trying to get you to pay attention to what you need to be focused on inside of you, because you're so distracted that you can't sense, you know, the divine speaking to you from inside. So the divine's having to get your attention from the outside. But if you can't even see that because you're still so distracted, then it's like the storm is going to creep up on you. You're not even going to see it coming. It's like you're going to turn around and here's the tornado, like right behind you. Like, where did this tornado come from? How did it get there? Why did I not see it? How did I not hear it? So don't be fooled. And again, this isn't me being doom and gloom. This isn't me being apocalyptic or negative. I'm just here to be the messenger. And I've said this all the way back in January. So this isn't me, you know, coming at you guys with some, you know, out of nowhere, you know, some type of weird, bizarre message out of nowhere. I've been saying this since January. I've been saying it in other readings the last 6 months. So I've been kind of, you know, a broken record here saying this, and I'll continue to say it until, you know, January of 2026, when we've finally crossed the threshold. Because that's my duty, my job, my responsibility as choosing to be a messenger of the divine. So, So it's very important. Do not be fooled into thinking that if things seem quiet right now, that, oh, well, 2025 is just going to be, a peaceful, quiet year. You know, um, don't necessarily make that assumption. And, for those of you that are doing the work, you'll notice that things are happening in other people's lives around you, but you'll notice that you seem to be kind of protected from it because you're doing the things that you need to be doing. But you might start to notice that other people around you, their life is blowing up left and right. And then you'll start to realize, like, oh my gosh, like this person over here is having this crazy thing. This thing is over, like everywhere you look, where people aren't, you know, they're not paying attention or they're not doing the work. You're going to start noticing more and more and more as time goes on, the rest of the year. You're going to see people starting to have just crazy, unforeseen issues. And this is also going to go on a global scale. So it's not just going to be on a personal level. It will be on a personal level, but it's not just a personal level. We're going to start seeing things happen out in the external world. Things that, affect a wide group of people, but somehow it seems like certain people weren't affected. It's like, how did this not end up affecting you when it affected thousands of other people? Well, it's because those people that weren't affected by whatever the thing is are the ones who were doing the work. So they got kind of the divine insurance plan. They got the divine protection because they ended up in the group of people that, was going with the flow and was adhering to the kind of the warning, if you will, from the divine. And, again, not to sound like super woo-woo, but like we see this throughout history. If you look back through history and you look back through even like the Bible and things, it's like civilizations, there have always been spiritual people, spiritual leaders and prophets and, whoever, people that would show up and arrive during, certain moments of time in history that would, basically say, hey, some kind of major thing is going to happen. And this is what you need to do to avoid it. And this is a continuation of history. And it will continue to happen. When there's major changes in the human story, people are going to show up. The messengers of the divine are going to start showing up. The prophets and the dreamers and the woo-woo people, we're all going to, come out of the woodwork. And they're all going to be preaching and saying the same things, right? Or something similar. Like things are going to start happening. Things are going to start happening. And the people that listen, just like historically in the past, the people who listened and adhered to the messages of those that came forward and said, hey, you guys need to get your shit together or something bad's going to happen to you. Because something's coming. Something is going to happen. And if you want to be protected from the thing that's coming, this is what you need to do. And certain people listened and certain people don't. So that's the best analogy I can give you. And to not mistake a time of relative quietness, if that applies to you in your life, this year has been quiet so far. Don't assume that, this is just the calm before the storm. We still have 6 months to go, and now we're on the the flip side of the coin now. Or in other words, shit's about to start to get real for some people. And so I'm just trying to do my best. I know I'm spending quite a bit of time here explaining this to you as I kind of review the importance of all of this. I wouldn't be spending this amount of time talking about this if it weren't important. Because this is, in my opinion, really more important than anything I'm going to put on the table in terms of like cards and things. Because if you're not getting this part of the message, you're not taking this part serious, then it doesn't matter what cards come out here on the table. It doesn't matter what other messages come out here on the table. The part that you need to take serious is, where do I stand within myself, within my divinity, and am I taking this seriously? And again, to get the full picture of what all I'm referring to, you'll have to go back and watch those 2 videos. I wouldn't tell you guys to do this just to go do it. Like, my channel isn't big enough to benefit from you guys going and watching it. It's a very small group of people that are probably going to even see any of this. And that's fine. But the people that need to see it and need to watch it, need to hear the messages, they're the ones who will see it. And so once you've consumed the information, then you have a responsibility to do something. And again, I see this, because it applies to me just as much as you and everybody else. So even though I'm kind of the messenger, I'm not excluded from having to do the work any more than you guys are. So, it's just very important to take this year serious and to do the work, just so that you're not going to be one of the people that ends up in one of the second group of people where this could potentially be one of the worst years of your life because you weren't taking it serious and you weren't doing the work. That's the best way I know to explain it. Okay. So this reading is really going to be more like, it's going to be general, but intuitively, I feel it's going to cater a little bit more towards the people that are doing the work, because the divine isn't going to waste its time speaking to people that it knows isn't going to listen anyways, right? It's like, why would the divine speak and bring messages for people who aren't even going to listen? So this reading is really going to be more for people that are listening, that do want change, and that do want this year to be one of the best years of their lives. And if that's you, then continue watching, because this reading will be for you. If this doesn't resonate for you, and you're like, I don't know what I think about all that, or Eddie, you're full of shit, or Eddie, I don't care. Cool, no problem. No harm, no foul. It's no offense to me. I'm just the messenger. So I don't take it personally whether, people take the messages serious or not. It's your life. You have free will. You get to do whatever you want. So with that being said, we are going to take a look and see what the divine has to say for those of us that do want positive change, that do want this year to be the best year, and essentially what we can expect between now and the end of the year. Probably going to need a decent amount of room. Okay, so I'm being told to get one more card from here, but I want to show you guys something first. So the first card out, we have balance, spirituality, and practicality, which, and we do have the picture of Pisces here. So, I'm gonna try to pay attention to all the details here. And then over here we have Cancer. So, so far, a lot of water energy, Pisces having to do with your intuition, spirituality, Cancer energy having to do with sensitivity, being nurturing. You could also be a Cancer or Pisces specifically, but you don't have to be. But we have balance, spirituality, and practicality. So again, this year is calling us to do both. In other words, we can't just check out and be all woo-woo spiritual, because that's not going to change anything. But we can't just live, in the practical materialistic world either. We can't be overly focused on one or the other. There has to be balance, which was what I was saying at the beginning of this reading, right? Where people get too focused on money or their indulgences, or getting caught up in the matrix in society and conforming and, like grinding and making money and having nice things, and overly focused on, their relationships. And relationships aren't bad, but it's like when when we are trading our divinity, or we make an idol out of something, basically meaning we turn something outside of ourselves into a god or an idol. That's what an idol is, right? It's something that we project the image of God onto as either a savior, a rescuer, a source of power, a source of fulfillment. All those things, when we search for those things in a source outside of ourselves, outside of our own divinity, that is what an idol is, right? And so we need to stop idolizing things that have no power, because we've been conditioned to believe that those things are the sources of our fulfillment. Divinity means to come within yourself, to dive in. Spirituality is to spirit your reality. The universe is you, the universe, right? It's not the outiverse, it's the universe. So we have to understand what the ancient spiritual and the greatest teachers have been saying all along, is that the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God, is inside of you. You are the divine. You are the expression of God in a human body. And so when we start seeking and looking for validation and fulfillment outside of ourselves, whether it's money, whether it's looks, whether it's power, whether it's success, whether it's titles, whether it's accolades, whether it's stuff, whether it's another human being, whether it's our children, we start, placing our spiritual fulfillment in external sources. We've turned those things into an idol. We've turned those things into a quote unquote little g God, right? So we need to bring all things into balance here. And on the flip side, we can't just go out into the woods and sit and meditate all day, or, come out here on YouTube and burn incense and watch tarot readings all day, binge watching tarot and getting, thousands of tarot readings. And every time our, favorite tarot person is on, we jump on and we're getting readings and, doing spiritual doings, which have no effect. They have no power either, because that shit's not going to change your life. That's mainstream spirituality, pop culture spirituality, which is just bullshit, because it doesn't change anything. It doesn't help anything. It's not going to change your life. It's not going to change you. It's information that does not lead to any form of transformation. So that's what this energy is about. The next card says a personal issue reaches resolution. And it will, one way or the other. The question is, are you going to take responsibility? Are you going to take your power back as the magician? And are you going to resolve any issues, whatever the personal issues are you going to take control, grab the steering wheel of your own life, take control of your life and handle these situations, or are you going to avoid them? Because if you avoid them, then the divine is going to step in and the divine is going to take care of them for you. And, that's when things are going to get very unpleasant and very ugly. And at the bottom of the deck, we have a fiery climax approaches. Now, there's two different energies attached to this, which is, right in alignment with this personal issues card. And what essentially this is saying is, if you take control of the situation and you take responsibility for it, then you're more than likely going to get a better outcome because you're exercising your divinity. All of us, with great power comes great responsibility. And that responsibility is the responsibility of living and using that power. We have been given the power of free will for a reason. We have been given our divinity for a reason. And when we don't use our divinity, when we're not being the magician energy, then we're pretending or acting like we're powerless when we're not. And so the divine created these universal laws that we're all subjected to, like, gravity, in duality, the law of opposites, tons of spiritual laws, the law of karma that affect everybody. And so if we're not responsible, we're not taking accountability and responsibility for our lives, for the decisions and choices that we're making or not making, then we kind of force the divine to have to disrupt our life because we've made an agreement by being here on this planet or sharing this playground. Like we all have, we've all made an agreement to be here. We're sharing this planet with, there's 8 billion of us sharing this planet. And on a spiritual level, we've all made an agreement with each other to be here and to interact, to participate, co-create, behave ourselves, and many other things. And when we're not taking responsibility for our life, then what inevitably ends up happening? We suffer. Bad things happen. Our life deteriorates. Our life crumbles. We have tower moments. Shit blows up. You know, we're not created to stagnate because energy can either be created or destroyed. There's no such thing as stagnation. You're going to be forced to move or to either exist or to not exist, one way or the other. Those are the two major extremes. So what this energy is essentially saying is, yes, there's going to be a resolution, either because you choose to take your power back and you bring a resolution, which is going to teach you how to grow and evolve and how to be and use your spiritual abilities and your spiritual power, the power of the magician that you are, that we all are, or you're going to avoid using your power. And then that's going to be the lesson for you this year is like, oh, this is what happens when I don't use my power. This is what happens when I deny my divinity. This is what happens when I don't show up in my own life that I came here for. I incarnated into this human body to live and experience a life, but I'm not living or experience that life. I'm wasting it. So the divine has to, come in and try to course correct and say, hey, you're wasting your life. Let me try to shake you up. Let me try to shake your life up. Let me try to wake you up. And the divine, typically has to motivate us either through inspiration or desperation. And if the divine can't get us to change, through inspiration, meaning using pleasure instead of pain, like if you're not motivated to change because you're not inspired enough, then essentially, you've accepted mediocrity, you've accepted comfort and complacency, and, it's like, I'm just going to exist. That's not inspiration, that's just existing. And you're existing well below the means of your capacity as a divine being. And so the divine is going to come in and say, okay, well, I have an agreement with you all. I'm never going to violate the two non-negotiables that the divine has. Is the divine's never going to violate your free will, and the divine is never going to give you anything that's not in your highest good. But the divine doesn't have to violate your free will to try to light a fire under your butt. And there are times when that's exactly what needs to happen. We get stuck in our comfort zone. We get stuck in our routines. We get stuck in our cycles of doing the same things, expecting a different result, feeling stuck, accepting a far less experience and quality of life than we're capable of experiencing. And the divine's like, well, let me try to inspire you and motivate you to go for more. And some people respond to it and some people don't. And so for the people that don't, then the divine has to come in and go, okay, well, inspiring you wasn't beneficial, so let me try to use desperation. And that's usually when, something painful happens. You have a tower moment. There's loss. There's betrayal. Your world blows up. Unforeseen events happen. And it's meant to shake you up and pull you out of the illusion of comfort or taking things for granted or just making really dumb decisions, right? If you're just constantly living your life, making bad decisions, and you're not experiencing any consequences for it yet, that's because the divine is being gracious. The divine is giving you a chance to stop making dumb decisions with your life, because eventually the divine's like, okay, they're not learning, so karma's going to come your way. And everybody gets karma, and karma is not always just bad. But it is bad for those who, are unwilling to, to course correct when the divine starts, uh, when the divine is basically gets on your ass, for lack of better words. So this fiery climax approaches energy. Again, everything in this reading is representing an extreme. And the two extremes are this. Either you're taking power and control of your life, and the divine is blessing you for taking power, control, and responsibility for your life, because that's what it means to be a divine creator, the magician, all these different terms that mean the same thing. You will be blessed and you will be protected between now and the end of the year, or you're not taking responsibility for your divinity. And then the fiery climax that approaches is the divine blowing your life up. So it's going to be one way or the other. And this is where we have to make a conscious decision and choice. Like, okay, am I going to get off, am I going to smack myself in the head and wake myself up and get my shit together and get my ass in gear and take responsibility and control of my life and my divinity and my destiny? Or am I just going to continue to spin my wheels and live cluelessly, and not take responsibility? The choice is ours. We still have free will. We still have free will. We can do whatever we want. But the divine is going to respond differently to the choice that we make. If you take responsibility, then the divine is going to assist you and is going to align you with what's in your highest good. And then these fiery climaxes that approach are the things that, your desired blessings. You'll be blessed for the things that you're putting your effort towards. If it's money, you'll be blessed with an abundance of money. If it's been a relationship you've wanted, you'll probably meet your person. If it's changing your health, you'll probably transform your health in your body. If it's, getting on your life path, and, your purpose in life, whatever that is, then you'll probably get on your life path and you'll start doing, the things that are meant for you in terms of your purpose, whatever that is, starting a business, creating a project, using a gift and a talent, whatever the thing is, you'll be blessed for it. And if you don't, then your life's probably going to, start to suffer, gradually at first, because the divine's going to try to give you, again, apply just enough pressure to get your attention. But if, the pressure's being applied and you're still not paying attention, then the divine's probably just going to have to turn the heat up until you finally get it. It's like, oh, my life's blowing up. Why? Why is my life blowing up? Well, you know why, because I'm telling you why. Well, not me, but the divine is telling you why. And it's not to punish you. It's to course correct you, because again, this is a collective change. This isn't a personal individualistic change. It's a collective change. All of humanity, or a certain percentage of humanity, needs to get on board and needs to progress to the next level of human consciousness for us to go to the next place that we're all intended and meant to go. And we all signed up for this, by the way. We don't remember it, but we all agreed to this. Every person that's alive right now on this planet agreed to going up to this next level, because that's why we're alive. If you weren't alive, then you wouldn't have, or you die before we get there, then you weren't intended. It wasn't intended for you. But if you're alive, then the assumption is you're intended to participate in this because you wanted to participate in it. Because the divine didn't force us to incarnate, we chose to incarnate, right? So let me get the other card that wanted to come out here, because I said there was a third card. And hopefully this is making sense to you guys. I mean, it makes sense to me, but hopefully it's making sense to you guys. All right, now this card came out in reverse, but we're going to put it up. Yeah, expect powerful change. But it came out in reverse. So what this is telling me, I'm going to leave it upright. But what this is telling me, keeping in alignment with, what I said earlier. It's a card of extremes. Expect powerful change one way or the other. If you're taking responsibility for your divinity, expect powerful and profound changes and blessings. If you're not, expect powerful change and your life blowing up. It's going to one way or the other. And then at the bottom of the deck now we have the energy is gaining momentum. And what this means is don't assume that if this year has been quiet so far, don't assume that nothing's happening. It's like, what are you talking about, Eddie? We're into June and nothing's really happened. It's like, this is just the calm before the storm. The energy is gaining momentum, meaning the storm, the hurricane is leveling up, is building strength. It's way out in the ocean right now, but it's intensifying. Now, the energy, for those of you that are doing the work, you will continue to get more energy. In other words, the divine is going to keep blessing you. It's like, hey, oh, you're doing the work. Here, have some more energy, have some more blessings, have some more abundance, have some more inspiration, have some more willpower, have some more strength, have some more creativity, have some more love, have some more money, have some more pleasure, have some more passion. Like, the divine is going to keep, what's the word I'm looking for? Depositing that energy into your spiritual bank account. But if you're not one of those people, then the energy that's gaining momentum, again, is going to be that pressure that I was talking about. Like, the divine's going to start turning up the heat slowly at first. You're like, man, it's starting to get really hot in here. And it's like, now it's getting uncomfortably hot in here. Now it's becoming overwhelmingly hot in here. Now I'm starting to feel like I'm on fire. Now I feel like I'm burning. It's again, how hot does it have to get in order for you to get the message, right? But one way or the other, it's going to be one or the other. And everything that I'm saying, these cards, the cards are just backing me up here on the things that I'm saying here. Not what I'm saying. I should correct myself. It's not me that's saying this. It's the messages that I'm channeling. All right. What else does the divine want us to know? And I'll try to get some specifics here. I'll try to get some specifics about, areas of our lives that we care about. We care about love and money and all the things. All right, so yeah, we have the goblins. This is the wounded ego. So this is the divine saying, hey, look, now is not the time to allow your ego, your past, your trauma, whatever's happened to you, to put you in a state of denial or a state of powerlessness. Now is not the time to camp out in powerlessness of any form, whether it's, well, this happened to me or that happened to me, or I have this problem, I have that problem, or I've been struggling financially, or, I've gone through this breakup, or I've been in this toxic relationship, or I have this other issue going on. It's like, whatever's happening in your life that you could use as an excuse, and I'm not saying that it's an excuse in the sense that it's not real or that it isn't affecting you. I'm saying that the divine is saying, look, wherever you are in your journey right now, whatever your life looks like, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's mediocre, whether it's okay, whether it's terrible, whether it's absolutely horrific, like, it doesn't, in a sense, it doesn't matter. Like the divine is saying, where you are is where you are. Like it's just, it's, here you are in 2025, and unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you are, you have certain circumstances going on in your life. Now, you can try to use those, whatever's going on in your life, especially the negative things, you can try to use those as excuses, but those excuses aren't going to get you out of everything that I've been saying. So complaining about like, well, but my life is this, my life is that, I have this issue or that issue, and these things are happening, and the divine's like, Yeah, I know, and yeah, that's hard, and yeah, that sucks, but I hate to break it to you, it doesn't matter. Like this this is going to go down this year. What's the saying? The rain falls on the rich, the rain falls on the poor. It's going to rain, whether you're on cloud nine or whether you're in hell, metaphorically speaking. It doesn't matter. The rain is going to fall. So this wounded ego is about, again, the divine asking us to become more self-aware and more honest with ourselves about our powerlessness, the stories we tell ourselves, the meanings that we've given our life, or the reasons, the excuses that we've had all the way up until now in this point in our life about why we haven't been responsible with our divinity, why we haven't been creating, why we haven't been playing full out, why we have been entertaining toxic things that were no good for us, right? Why we have, been doing the same things again and again and again and expecting a different result, which is the definition of insanity. Like we're being called to account. We're being called out. Called to account. We're being asked, why are you living this life that you're living? And what are you going to do about it? You've been powerless up to now. You've been allowing this. You've been tolerating this. You've been accepting this. It could be addictions. It could be habits. It could just be, maybe it's just form of laziness and complacency. For some people, it's just comfort. You choose comfort over anything. It's like, well, my life isn't terrible. It doesn't really suck, but it's not amazing. It's not great either. You're just kind of lukewarm. It's just kind of like, I'm too scared to step out of my comfort zone and really make a change for my life, and so I just kind of stay in my routine. But I'm also too comfortable in my routine to where I'm not really happy either. So you're not really fulfilled, but you're not really miserable. You're just existing. So all of these are examples of things that are choices, that represent choices that we've made for things that we are currently tolerating. And this card is about us evaluating our tolerances in the areas of our life where we have chosen to remain powerless. And the divine is saying, you have a chance now to acknowledge your powerlessness, to take inventory of your tolerances, and to make a different decision, a different choice. Because again, if you don't, this issue is going to come to a resolution. There will be a powerful change, and the energy that's, kickstarting that change is gaining momentum, which is everything I said earlier. It's either you're going to choose to take responsibility for changing this, or the divine's going to have to come in and change it for you. And one is a far less painful experience than the other, and one has a far better outcome than the other. All right. So what's the next message? And again, I know this sounds really, I know this is it's pretty cut and dry, but if there was a tornado, a really, really bad tornado heading your way, what would get your attention more? The sounds, the tornado sirens going off, your phone ringing off the hook because your mother, your father, your family, your best friend, somebody was trying to get in touch with you. The TV was blasting saying, hey, this tornado is 5 minutes from you. You've got to get your ass out of your house, in a basement, something. It's coming. Like, would you want everybody screaming at you, trying to get your attention, or, like treating it as severe as it is? Or would you want them to be like, okay, well, I think there might be a tornado coming your way, and you might want to do something about that. You see, you're not going to take it serious, right? There's a reason that, when you approach a train track, or I should say when a train approaches a crossing, that you hear the train, blow their horn like 50 million times. And there's a reason that thing is super loud, because it's meant to get your attention. The same thing with sirens on fire trucks and ambulances. They're extremely loud and extremely obnoxious to get your attention. So there's a reason for the intensity of these types of messages, because the divine wants you to take them serious. So the next card is we have joy. And so see, while it sounds like it's all kind of negative, it's not that it's all negative. It's not that the message that the divine wanting to bring to you is to scare the shit out of you and be, oh my, this is really intense and really negative. It's not. But the divine can't lie, and it's just truth. And we have to be willing to accept the truth sometimes. And that's one clue of knowing where you are in your own spiritual growth. Because the more you grow spiritually, the more you crave the truth. You don't want to be lied to anymore. You don't want sugar, cotton candy, fairies, unicorns, and all that bullshit. You're not here for a Disney love story. You want the truth. And you don't care how it comes to you. You just want the fucking truth. And the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And the more that you grow spiritually, the more you desire the truth and honesty, because as the law states, that the truth will set you free. And so it's like, give me the truth, man. Like, I don't want any sugar. I don't water it down. Don't sugarcoat it. It's like, I want the hardcore truth. That's how I am. It's like, I don't care how good, bad, ugly, just give me the truth. Don't hold back. Don't sugarcoat. Because it's important. It's important for me to know exactly what the divine wants me to know, so I can gauge the severity of it. It's like, well, this might be a big deal, and maybe I need to treat it like a big deal, right? So that's why the messages come through in an intense way sometimes, because it's just the divine's way of speaking through me to try to get everyone's attention about the severity of what's to come. And again, it's not meant to scare, because not everyone needs to be scared. Hence this card. This card is the complete opposite. This card is about blessings, abundance, joy, fulfillment. This is the divine saying, hey, there's a lot of you guys out there where these things up here, because remember I said a second ago, I said that most of the things that come out on the table are going to be for people that are wanting to hear from the divine. Because the people that don't want to hear messages from the divine probably aren't watching this video, or they've already clicked off. It's like, I don't give a shit about that. I don't care what he's talking about. It's not my generic, cheap, superficial tarot reading that I can go get from, Unicorn Fairy Tarot, Tarot123, Tarot1111.com. They're going to click off this and they're going to go binge watch, mainstream tarot bullshit. Because that's what they're hypnotized by. They're just addicted to more useless information that isn't going to change anything for them. So those people aren't the ones that this message is for. This message is for those of you who are still here, that are still watching this, that understand, because something inside of you is saying, I think there's something to this. Even if you're not sure if you agree with all of it, or even if you're not sure you know what to think about all of it. Something inside of you is like, I don't know. There's something telling me that this is important. There's something here provoking me to listen, to pay attention. Well, that's the divine inside of you. That's your intuition. I can't force that upon you. I can't force some force inside of you to go, hey, this message is for me. Even if I'm not sure exactly what all I'm supposed to take away from it yet. Right? But for those of you that are here, again, this is mostly the intention of this reading is to inspire you, motivate you, and give you hope, and give you assurance or reassurance that, hey, the divine's got your back. You got nothing to worry about. There's just a few things for you to keep in mind, to keep watch over within yourself. But if you do, then you have some really amazing shit coming towards you. And this word joy is the energy that's attached to this isn't just the emotion or the feeling itself. It's all the things that would give you the feeling and emotion. In other words, there has to be a reason. There's a supernatural level of joy that you experience whenever you go through a spiritual awakening. And we never stop going through spiritual awakenings, because once you get to the next level, then there's a new level of awareness there. But there also means there's more growth, because it's endless. And so, but when you get to a certain level, you start to experience more supernatural fulfillment, because you're starting to understand what true spirituality is really all about, which is, hey, I'm already complete. I'm already whole. My fulfillment exists within me. It's not something that I came here to go find outside of me. It's just that the things outside of me that I desire are just the extras, the icing on the cake, which is the experience that I actually came here to have with myself. And that's the number one thing that we miss in spirituality, is that we think that we incarnate into this life just to go out here and have experiences with things outside of us, experiences with stuff, experiences with money, experiences with other human beings, experiences, in sexuality and passion, experiences, in activities and adventures and exploring this globe, right? But that's not true. We also came here solely, I should say mainly, not solely, that's the wrong word. Mainly, we've come here to have an experience with ourselves, which is just a mirror of what it means to have an experience with the divine. Because the divine is having an experience with itself by having an experience with us, and we are having an experience with the divine by having an experience with us. That's why it's a mirror. And we miss that part, because we're so focused outwardly on finding fulfillment outside of ourselves. And that's not true. It's like spirituality is us coming home to ourselves first, having a connection or a relationship with the divine or God, the same stuff that we've heard a million times, whether religion tells us or spirituality tells us, it's the same thing. Having a relationship with God, with Source, with the universe, with the divine inside of you. That's always step one. And as you begin to have a relationship with your divinity, then the relationship that we have to the external world starts to make sense. Because now we're doing it in the way and in the order that it was meant to be done. But see, in our culture, everything is backwards. And it's backwards on purpose. Because there are powers, there are forces, and there are people, and there are agendas, and there are systems in place that are designed to keep us from our divinity. And the reason is because those powers and systems and people and sources, they want us to believe that they are our gods, because they want the power. They don't want us to go and find our own power. They want to hoard all the power. It's narcissism. It's devil energy. That's a whole other conversation, but it's important for us to know. But this joy energy is the blessing. It's, you will find your spiritual fulfillment within yourself, but you're also going to find spiritual fulfillment once you found spiritual fulfillment inside of yourself. As you continue through this year, you're going to begin to love who you are. You're going to begin to actualize and realize the power that's inside of you more and more and more, and what's possible as you step into that power. And then your connection to the fulfillment and the things outside of you is going to unlock in a way that's never unlocked before. And you'll be like, wow, like I can just sit and do otherwise meaningless and mindless things that I've always done before, but for some reason they feel so different now. It's almost like for many of you, you're going to do things that you've been doing potentially your whole life, but it's going to feel like it's the first time. It's like, man, for some reason I woke up today and I had my coffee like I always do, but for some reason this morning it was like, what is this stuff I'm drinking? It's like, I feel like I'm drinking, ecstasy over here. Like, it's going to be these kind of unusual and unexpected kind of enlightened mini spiritual euphoric experiences that you're having, or just these random, for no seeming reason, these bursts of joy, these bursts of excitement that just come through you. And you may not be doing anything. You just be driving in your car and you're like, oh my gosh. Or you hear a song and you're like, and maybe you've heard that song 100 times and you're like, for some reason today, you're just like, man, this song is so powerful. It's so beautiful. Or it makes me so excited. There's a new life attached to this joy that you're going to be experiencing. And that's going to be, fuel that propels you as you move forward throughout the year. A very, very powerful energy. And you're going to continue to experience that blessing energy as you move forward through the rest of the year. All right, we have the stag, pride and leadership. Now, this isn't ego pride. This is a sense of confidence, a sense of accomplishment. Like pride is in, wow, I actually do love myself. I actually do love my life. I actually do love who I've become and the direction I'm going. I actually feel inspired and motivated and happy. I feel like I can do anything. I feel like all things are finally maybe really possible for me. Maybe you've never felt that way before. Hence the energy of the leadership. Being the leader of your own life. Becoming the magician. And the way that we get there is by releasing our burdens. And it's interesting, this picture is like the trees in the forest. It's like sometimes we get so bogged down with the mental crap, the ego crap, our powerlessness, that we can't see the woods through the trees. In other words, we just feel like everything is just a burden, but we're not really sure exactly what part of the burden is actually burdensome, because, it's just this, it feels like a heavy, wet lead blanket that's just been thrown on us. And it's almost like, I feel like many of you that are still here listening to this aren't even sure where to start or where to troubleshoot your life. It's like, you're just like, I don't even know where to start. And the divine's saying, you're going to know, because I'm going to help you release the burdens. All the divine needs is willingness. Going back to the two non-negotiables, the divine isn't going to violate your free will, but if you choose to use your free will to align with what's in your highest good, then instantaneously the divine can align with you and help you and assist you and take you down that path. And show you and immediately offer you miracles, resources, knowledge, revelation, enlightenment. It's all there waiting. The divine has no reason to withhold anything from us other than we're just simply not ready to receive it or accept it or understand it. We're just, our level of consciousness is not ready. It's like a 3-year-old. It's like, well, the only reason that the 3-year-old can't drive a car is because it's not old enough, mature enough, and responsible enough to do so. It's not that one day the 3-year-old won't be a 16-year-old, or a 30-year-old or 50-year-old. Like one day the 3-year-old potentially will grow up and will be capable of effortlessly driving a vehicle. So it's not that the divine is trying to withhold anything from us. It's just that we have to be ready for whatever it is the divine wants to give us. We've proven by taking ownership of our lives and being responsible, we've proven that we're ready for the next thing. That's how it works. That's how abundance and blessings from the divine work. When we prove that we can be responsible with our divinity, with the power of the divine inside of us, then the divine sees it and goes, "Oh, you're faithful. You're responsible. You're accountable. You're trustworthy. I can give you the next thing because you're ready for it. You won't squander it, you won't waste it, and you won't fuck it up. You're ready to receive." And so a lot of times the reason that we end up in burden and this burden energy, and we don't understand why our life isn't changing no matter how much we seem to try, is because we haven't been responsible. We haven't exercised a level of responsibility to prove that we're ready for the next thing. It's like we all want the next thing. We all want to be millionaires. We all want, the perfect relationship. We all want this. We all want that. But in reality, we may not be ready for it. Where if you had the $1 million, you could destroy your life. You don't know. And your ego is going to tell you, "Oh no, I wouldn't destroy my life with it." But you don't know that. Same thing. If you had the man or the woman of your dreams, you might fuck it up. In fact, you might not even be attracted to that person when they come in and you meet them. It's like, I'm not even attracted to that person because you're so used to toxic relationships. You're so used to settling for crumbs, or you hate yourself, or you don't have any, self-esteem or self-worth. You're not gonna see value, and you're not even in energetic or vibrational alignment with somebody who's healthy, because you're not healthy. So responsibility is the doorway to receiving blessings. And it's also the doorway of us releasing and freeing ourselves from the burdens. Because any area of our life that we're not willing to take responsibility for is an area of our life that is going to suffer. It's not a matter of if, it's a promise. Like it will suffer. All right. I got a few from here, and then I've got a few from this other deck. All right. What else does the divine want us to know? All right. Co-create. Yeah. And so this is essentially, just the divine saying everything that I said just a second ago over here. It's like the divine wants to empower us. The divine wants to co-create with us. The divine wants to bless us. The divine wants to work in tandem with us and partner with us, not work against us. So when people hear me say that there's two groups of people, and one group of people, this is going to be the best year of their life. The other group of people, this is potentially the worst year of their life. It's not because the divine is trying to punish the second group of people. It's just that those people are using their free will to maintain a lifestyle that isn't in their highest good. And the divine isn't going to give them anything that's not in their highest good, but the divine is also not going to violate their free will. So the divine literally is saying, I can't co-create with you because you're choosing not to co-create with me. The divine is always willing. The divine never says no. Believe it or not, the divine never says no to us. The divine is always saying yes, but the divine has a standard. And the standard is, I'm not going to violate your free will because I'm giving you the free will to operate as your own creator. And I'm not going to give you anything that's not in your highest good, because that would be a violation in and unto myself, because we are an expression of the divine. The divine doesn't have human flaws. The divine isn't like, oh, well, I have self-esteem issues. I have, self-worth problems. So I will lower the standard of who and what I am just so that I can get something that I think will fulfill me. That's not how the divine works. We do that all the time as human beings, but the divine can't do that. So it's not the divine is never saying no to us But the divine is saying, you're free to do as you please. When we say yes to the divine, when we say yes to aligning to what's in our highest good, the answer is always yes. You'll never get a no from the divine when you are in alignment with what's in your highest good. You'll never get a no. There is no such thing as a no from God, source, the universe, or the divine, as long as you're saying yes to what's in your highest good. It's just that simple. In fact, it's so simple, it's just a free will choice. Just saying, oh, well, I'm just going to choose what's in my highest good then. And the divine's like, perfect. Then the answer is always yes. And that's what this card stands for. As long as so much as you choose to co-create with the divine, the answer is always yes. And that's what the divine is choosing and desiring to do with us. The divine doesn't want us, our lives to blow up. The divine doesn't want us to suffer. The divine doesn't want us to experience pain. That's a misuse of the power and the divinity and the resources that we possess for why we're here. We come into this sandbox. We come into this playground, this virtual reality, to experience pleasure, to experience creation, to push the boundaries and the limits of what's possible with us by experimenting and creating and testing things out and, exploring and achieving, not in an egotistical sense of achieving, but achieving in the sense of, hey, I tried something. I have this energy, I have this gift, I have this skill, I have this power, I have this idea, and I tried something, and it created a result. How cool is that? And that result gave me a certain set of emotions and an experience that I get to enjoy, and other people get to enjoy it. Right? It's a lot like making a baby. If you're with the right person and you're really passionate, you're really in love, making babies can be a hell of a lot of fun. It can be very exciting, be very pleasuring. Right? And you created a life. And for those of you, or at least one person out there who's had issues with fertility and who's not been able to create a child, the divine is saying the reason that you haven't created a child isn't because of what the world has told you, doctors and all this. It's a spiritual symptom, not a physical symptom. The spiritual symptom is that you're trying to create a child from your ego instead of trying to co-create life from your divinity, from your spirit. Meaning the act of creation, the act of pleasure, the act of passion, the act of life, the experience in and of itself has been forgotten. You're just wanting to, you're misunderstanding the spiritual process of creating life. Because you've turned it over to the ego. And when creating life is turned over to the ego, it can't happen because your ego can't create life. The ego can't make a baby. Love, passion, and spirit and soul, God's source, the divine inside of you, meeting itself in somebody else is what creates life. When you make love to somebody and you create love in the co-creative act of making love with somebody else that you have a divine connection with, you thus create life because the divine meets the divine in a very powerful, pleasurable, and intimate moment. And that is the moment that life is created. Your ego can't do that. And so that's a really random message, but it's for somebody. Somebody who's had difficulties with fertility, you've wanted a child, and for whatever reason, you've not been able to have a child. It's because you're trying to do it with your mind. And I know that sounds really weird, but that's the problem. You're not doing it out of a place of your divinity. You're doing it out of a place of your mind, your ego. You're trying to create a baby. Well, when you're in your power and you're in your divinity and you're in love in love, meaning you're embodying love and you're in love with the divine, and the divine in you is in love with the divine in somebody else, and you make love, then you create life, because that is the recipe for creating life. Life honors love. Love honors life. The ego that's the wrong tool for the job. Nobody ever used this head, pun intended, to create a life. It's never happened. All right, so the next card we have is community. So this energy is twofold. This energy is about, for those of you who need a community, a new community to be in, because as you grow and as you evolve, you're going to outgrow old, people that no longer resonate with you anymore. And that's necessary. It's just part of the process. You're going to outgrow friends. You're going to outgrow family. You're going to outgrow connections and relationships you have with people that used to do certain things and act certain ways, and you're just not going to resonate with those people anymore. And instead of holding on to things that no longer serve you, instead of holding on to things that, because you're afraid, well, I won't have any friends, I won't have anybody around. It's like, no, you will. But you have to be willing to let go of what you're holding on to in order for the divine to meet you, the act of co-creation, to meet you and bring you the new thing. So that's for those of you who have been looking for, new connections, new friendships, mentors, leaders, jobs, anything having to do with people, even relationships is the energies in that card. Now this is also you understanding the other side, the other energy attached to this is you understanding that the things that the divine has given you that would fulfill you, your passions, your gifts and talents, we all have them. Everybody has something that you came into this life that you're good at. Now, whether or not you know what that thing is, because you haven't spent enough time with yourself to discover or uncover that gift, that's a different story. But just because you don't know what it is doesn't mean that it's not there. And if you do know what it is, you do understand, or you have at least an idea of what your gifts, your talents, your passion, your purpose, your destiny is, then the divine wants to connect you with the people who need the thing that you have. And for some of you, that can mean a different type of abundance. You could be starting a business and providing a service. And then, cool, now you love what you do and you get to help people doing it. Or you get to create something that people want and you get to make money by selling it. Or if it's volunteer work, then you get to be surrounded with people that you get to serve that you love and they will love you in return. Whatever it is, you have something that you came into this life with that's a gift and a talent, a resource, something that you're good at, that's meant to bless other people. And by doing so, by using that, you're going to be blessed back by those people. Because again, that's also an energy of co-creation, meaning the divine inside of you is touching or awakening or reaching out to the divine in other people. And by the divine in you meeting and connecting with the divine in them, you share the energy of joy, love, fulfillment, acceptance, validation. And all of a sudden you feel alive inside because you're contributing to something beyond yourself. You feel like your life has meaning, your life has purpose. And it's not just all about you. You're able to touch other people's lives. You'll be able to change people's lives, be able to give something of value, of meaning, of substance. And that makes you, and that's the pride and leadership energy that we have here. And that's how you become proud of yourself. And that's what it means to be a leader. A leader is somebody who's responsible with what they've been given and knows how to use it to bless others. And that inspires people to want to do the same thing in their life. It's like, oh my gosh, that person inspires me. Look what they're doing. And it doesn't mean you have to be famous. It doesn't mean you have to be any of that stuff. That shit's ego. Fame, fortune, and popularity and all that. That's bullshit. That's the world. That's the ego. That's programming. That has nothing to do with spiritual fulfillment of you just doing what you do, whether anybody, notices it out in the mainstream world or not. Because, as the saying goes, not all heroes wear capes. There's many, many people out in the world, millions of people that are doing the divine work and are absolutely filled up, completely full, in their soul, full of fulfillment. And nobody knows who those people are, except for the people that they are called to help. But they're doing their mission. They're doing their work. Their names may not be written in a physical history book. Their names may not be flashed on the news. You may not hear about them on social media or whatever, but it doesn't mean that they're not out there, and it doesn't mean that they're not living their life or loving what they do. And they're the ones that are experiencing true fulfillment. Those are the people who have it all. Not only do they have their security, their freedom, their abundance, financial peace, but they're getting to do something that they love. Instead of waking up going, oh, thank God it's Friday, every day is Friday. That's the abundant life. Now, the last card we have here is yin. This is receptive energy. This is you receiving the blessings from the divine, you receiving the information, you receiving what you need from the divine. It's you receiving back what you put out, which goes back to karma. Not all karma is bad. This is receiving. If you've been doing good, you've been taking responsibility, you've just been trying, then the divine is going to honor that. The divine doesn't need you to be perfect. No one is. It's just putting effort into it. And some days it'll be 2 steps forward and 1 step back. I have, I'm just as human as you guys. I have my own, challenges in my life where it's like, okay, I need to do this. I need to do better on that. And I'll do good for a few days. And then, sometimes I fall back, but I don't beat myself up over it. I don't reprimand myself. I just go, hey, you know what? Pull yourself back into the present and just refocus. That's it. Just focus on the task at hand. Like what I'm doing right now. I'm not focused. I'm not anywhere else. I'm not focused on, okay, what I'm going to do when I stop this reading, what am I going to do tomorrow? Like I'm completely present and focused on the only thing that matters, which is me being here with you all right here, right now, with the divine and with you all, my community, receiving the messages and co-creating this message from the divine to bring it out here for you all and to bring it for myself, because I don't know what I'm going to say. And I'll go back and I'll re-listen to it as an observer instead of the messenger, because it's a total different part of me. When I'm listening to something, I'm just like you guys. I'm there taking in, and my ego's, my mind, my intellect is receiving information. When I'm in this mode, my ego is in the back seat, and the divine is in the front seat, and I'm just an open channel for whatever's coming through me. So, I don't even remember what I say. Like I can't go back and tell you. I mean, I remember a little bit because, obviously I'm just now doing the reading, but once I hit stop on this, I'm not going to remember any of the stuff that I said out here. I'll remember little highlights. I might remember some themes, but I won't remember, very important, crucial, sentences, phrases, things, topics, all that stuff. I forget it because I'm not using my mind, my ego to accomplish this. Building blocks is at the bottom. And this is what I was just saying. It's not about perfection. It's just about progress. It's about 1 step at a time. How do you build something? You build it 1 block at a time. How do you grow? How do you evolve? How do you stay on task as you move through the remainder of this year so that you can stay in that group of people where this is potentially one of the best years of our life? How do you stay in this energy, the positive side of this energy? Well, you just do You just remain focused and consistent, and you just do it one thing at a time. That's all that this is saying. This card is just progress over perfection. You don't have to do this perfect. You don't have to worry about, oh, am I getting it right? Or, oh my gosh, I'm kind of freaked out. Like, I feel like I have this challenge and I don't feel like I'm chipping away at it very well. The divine knows your heart. There's actually a verse in the Bible that says God sees the heart. I think Jesus said that, actually. God sees the heart. The divine sees the heart because that's where the divine lives. The divine is here inside of your heart, not your head. The divine connects and knows. It already knows you. It knows your intention. It knows the motive inside of you. It's aware of the challenges that you have, the problems, the addictions, the patterns, the cycles. The divine understands how difficult it is to reprogram parts of your identity, parts of your being that have been a certain way for many years, if not maybe your whole life. But the divine, again, also knows that as long as you use your free will to align with what's in your highest good, which just means to align with the divine, then the divine is honoring that. So this card could be said another way. As long as you're using your free will to align to what's in your highest good or to align to the divine inside of you, then you have nothing to worry about. Right? All right, so let's get some final messages here about what you guys can expect. Love, relationships, careers, outcomes. What do you want to tell everybody about their dreams, their goals, their desires, their expectations, the things that they've been holding out for or wanting or waiting for? If they do the work, if they align to what's in their highest good, what can they expect? All right. So for many of you, you guys are going to be coming out of, many of you are going to be coming out of a very dark time in your life, or just a period of stagnation with the void. The void represents both. The void represents periods, very, very dark periods of times in our life, but the void also represents periods of stagnation, essentially where nothing really seems to change or happen, right? That's why it's the void. Nothing happens in the void. All that's about to change. Why? Because you're about to integrate everything that we've been talking about here. Or most importantly, what I said over here. You're going to use your free will decision to align with the divine inside of you or to what's in your highest good, which is integration. And for those of you that don't know, this is the tree of life in Kabbalah. That's what this design is here. So this image that you're seeing on this card is called the tree of life of Kabbalah. And you have the two pillars. One is the pillar of mercy, one is the pillar of severity, and then you have the middle path. And I won't go into all the different, all the different sephirotes here and all that. That's a whole other thing. But the point is it's integration. It means as we come into oneness with the divine inside of us, it's like we are activating our spiritual blueprint. That's really what this is. It's like DNA. It's activating your spiritual DNA. It's bringing you all systems to life, not just your ego. I mean, most people their spirituality, the divine inside of them is so suppressed and so cut off because they're living in the ego, which is basically the same thing as living in the void. You're just living to survive. You're just existing without much meaning besides materialism and human indulgences. Money, sex, materialism, and, comfort and pleasure, right? Ego-driven existence. Whereas this card is saying you're coming online. You're spiritually coming online. Your spiritual DNA is being activated, which means, for many of you, there are things inside of you. There are latent gifts, abilities, revelations, creativity, relationships, everything we've been talking about is about to start awakening inside of you, coming to life inside of you, but then those things are going to be attracted to you as well. Because this is an entirely different vibration than this. They're polar opposites. This is spiritual bankruptcy, meaning you're completely spiritually offline. This is spiritual awakening. You're spiritually online. And for those of you, which I think I'm going to actually just show you guys, because the divine is telling me, the divine is saying, hey, you need to show them. So I'm going to show you guys really quick. This image that you're seeing on this card is the same image that's on the Ten of Pentacles. And for those of you that don't know, the Ten of Pentacles, here it is. The Ten of Pentacles is the card of you get everything. So in terms of the minor arcana, this is the everything card. You get the love, you get the money, you get the family, you get everything in the Ten of Pentacles. And you can see right over here, this pattern back here is this pattern right here. This is the tree of life. This is the Kabbalah tree of life. Now, there's tons of symbolism that I can't get into because it's not the purpose of this. But the Ten of Pentacles is everything. So the way that you get everything is by being spiritually activated. So I'm just wanting you guys to know that. And I think I'm going to leave this card out here just as a reference. I'm going to put it right above. Just as a reference so you guys can see it and be reminded that not only are you spiritually awakening and being spiritually activated, but again, it's not just an arbitrary, like, oh, okay, I'm spiritually activating. Like, who gives a shit? Well, this is why you give a shit. Because when you spiritually are activated, then you basically just unlock the door to all of your spiritual blessings, which manifest in the invisible realm as well as the tangible realm. So the love of your life, your dream job, your bank account being full, financial freedom, whatever it is that you want. That's what this Ten of Pentacles is. It's all the things that you could ever want or desire. And the way that you get those things is by what we've been talking about. And not just listening to what I'm saying, but again, actually doing, following through. That's what integration is. Integrating means you've done something to integrate, to be integrated with. That there's always action needed. So the non-aligned energy is here, which is goes back to the bird energy that we talked about, and this goblin energy. It's like just saying, hey, look, the divine wants to show you why certain things in your life that you once thought that you desired actually were no good for you. And sometimes we end up holding on to things because the version of us can't see why these things aren't in alignment with us, because the ego's involved, and the ego's like, well, I want the thing. But our spirit knows it's not good for us because this thing can only exist in this state, the void. So once we go through, this spiritual awakening and we're spiritually activated, then we start to see why certain people never were meant to be with us, why those relationships didn't work out, why that job didn't work out, why we didn't get certain things that we thought we wanted, and now we're glad that we didn't get them. We're going to see that too. And we're going to have a level of spiritual clarity and insights into certain areas of our lives that are going to make 100% sense. Which brings us to the next card, timing. Now there's two energies attached to this. And the timing is, one, there was an element of divine timing, meaning, 9 years ago, when we were just starting this 9-year cycle, we weren't in 2025 yet. We were in 2016. Or no, 2017. Yeah, 2017, I'm sorry. So in 2017, we were in a completely different energy, right? We weren't here yet, but now we are here. The timing wasn't right yet. So certain things that we've been waiting for, longing for, hoping for, it wasn't time for those things yet because we had not arrived at this point in our timeline, in our journey, to be activated spiritually so that these things could come to us. That's why it's divine timing, or timing that's outside of our hands. Now, on the second energy is the timing that is in our hands, meaning we can still delay certain things coming into our lives, or we can fast track them coming into our lives. And it's all based on the magician energy, us taking responsibility of our divinity, co-creating with the divine, and us choosing what's in our highest good. And if we do that and we stay in alignment, then we can make time go by faster in terms of manifestation. We can bring things into reality. Our manifestations can occur much quicker because time really is just an illusion for the most part. And the reason I say for the most part is because when it's divine timing, we can't force the divine, to act or to activate things when it's not ready. So that part of it is out of our control. But the rest of it is in our control. Hence, the saying, as above, so below, as within, so without. There's things that we can control and there's things that we can't control. All right, destiny. So look at this. You can't make this shit up. So now we have these two images that are very similar, two clocks. Well, the timing for this, again, for our spiritual awakening and the awakening of our destiny, us coming into, again, this point of human evolution, of human consciousness, of human awakening, it wasn't time yet, but now it is. 2025 is the time of human global awakening, the mass global awakening of humanity. And there are many of you that are watching this right now, just like myself, where it wasn't our time any time in the past. Any year prior to 2025 was not our time. We were preparing, hopefully, for our time, which is now. Destiny is now kicking in now. The time is now. Destiny is finally starting. So for many of you, this year, like I said all the way back in the beginning, this will be one of the reason that this will be one of the best years of your life, and 10, 20, 30, 50 years, into the future, you'll be looking back at 2025 and you'll say 2025 was the year that it all changed. Well, this is why. Because this was the year that you woke up. This is the year that you had a date with destiny, where you found yourself You were spiritually activated, and everything else from this point going forward was changed. You found your life's path, your mission, your purpose in life. And once you get on your life path, that's it. You're on the path. Everything changes when you get on the path. And this is also a time, again, for those who remain in this energy, where the things that were destined for you will be yours. The money, the career, the fulfillment, the relationship, the love of your life, the children, whatever the Ten of Pentacles. Remember, we were talking about anything that's represented by this Ten of Pentacles. Well, the time is now. Destiny is here. This is the Wheel of Fortune energy. You're going to be blessed by the divine because you chose what's in your highest good. You answered the call. That's really what this is about. Yeah, you can't make this up. So we have water energy, and we had that all the way back at the beginning. We had the Cancer energy, we had the Pisces energy here represented in those two cards, and we have the cup here. Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces energy, but what this cup represents is, again, fulfillment. Your cup is full. It's a metaphor. Because we could look at this as like the Ace of Cups, which is just the spiritual representation of anything that you could love in tarot. So if I grab this deck again, and I let's see if I can find, the Ace of Cups right here. The Ace of Cups is just the spiritual representation of anything that's connected to our heart, connected to our emotions, and connected to something that we could love. Anything. Whether it's a job, whether it's a family, whether it's a child, whether it's a lover, whether it's your future, whether it's your body, whether it's your health, whether it's, something, a talent, a gift, a creation. It's just a metaphor. These two cards are just representing here. Well, it's not two cards, but this card rather. This card is just representing what the Ace of Cups is representing. And aces are just potentials in tarot, by the way. That's why in kind of the traditional artwork, you see the hand coming out of the cloud that's holding the cup. This deck is the artwork is totally different. But it's the same idea. You have the hand coming out of the cloud, which represents the hand of God or the hand of the divine, bringing a blessing, bringing the cup to you, meaning bringing something to you that you're going to love, that you're going to be emotionally invested in, that's going to be emotionally fulfilling for you. And the time is now for that. I'll put that one right there. All right. Give me one or two more. Oh, and at the bottom of the deck, we have cycles. You can't make that up. So this is, again, talking about the 9-year cycle, the cycle that we're in. And this is what we're dealing with. So it's just, more clarification here. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we close out this reading? Because, we're almost at the 2-hour mark. And it wasn't really my intention to make it this long, but I had to do the first 2 videos as 2 different parts. And for those of you who've made it this far, if you haven't watched those videos, again, I highly recommend that you go back and watch those because they're still relevant, and it will give you further guidance and further information on how to maximize the rest of the year. And you just go to my videos and my playlists, and it's called the Universal Year 9 Part 1 and the Universal Year 9 Part 2. So if you haven't watched those, I highly recommend it. Okay, so many of you who have been waiting for commitment, marriage, relationships, or a reunion, or just love with a divine counterpart, that's key. Divine counterpart, not some toxic shit from your past. Something that's in your highest good, it's coming. And it's interesting because you can't make that up. The fact that we had this Ace of Cups energy come out, and then we had commitment come up right after that. So for those of you who've been waiting for love to happen, it's going to happen. And it's probably going to happen before the year's over. This is all 2025. Okay, so, but again, it's all contingent upon us choosing to stay connected to the divine and choosing what's in our highest good. That is the key. Remaining true to our call, to our destiny, and to our divinity. And if we can do that, then we're guaranteed everything that we've been talking about throughout this reading. I mean, technically, we could have stopped with the Ten of Pentacles energy that was connected to the integration, because again, the integration energy, covers all of this stuff. The commitment, the love, and all this, the abundance is all being referenced in that Ten of Pentacles energy, which is connected to that integration card. Because it's just a side effect of being connected to the divine and choosing what's in our highest good can only reap abundant blessings. Maybe you guys have, you can't make this shit up. Look, creation is here, which is just, now the divine is repeating itself. We have co-create, and now we have creation here. Let me try to get one or two more. But what I was going to say is that maybe you guys have known people who were spiritual or even religious who just seem to manifest. And maybe they weren't even spiritual or religious, but they just seem to manifest effortlessly. When they want something, they're the people who always win, the prizes. They're the people who always win the free stuff. They're the people who always get the raise. They're the people who always get promoted. They're the people who always fall in love and have the seemingly wonderful relationship. They're the people who seem to have this confidence and this magnetism or this faith and this belief of knowing that if I want it, the divine or God, source, universe is going to give it to me, right? I've known people like that. And they have a type of belief, a confidence of just knowing that they can kind of get whatever they want from the divine. And for the most part, they seem to be able to do it. And this is how. They're doing all of this. And so sometimes some of us are just so programmed to be in our head and our ego that we get in our own way. We become our own worst enemies. And so it takes us, years, if not sometimes a lifetime, everything that I was just saying, to undo this. Paradigms, our programming. Our programming gets in the way. We become our own worst enemies because of bad, outdated programming that limits our capacity to believe, therefore achieve, our spiritual activation or tap into our spiritual powers. And then, you guys are not going to believe what just happened. I was going to say, this is the last card. And I went to set the deck down, and the card literally flew off of the bottom of the deck all by itself. And you're not going to believe what's at the bottom of the deck. But let me show you this card first. We're coming full circle. This is the end of the reading. We're coming full circle. This is essentially this card here, the stag. Pride and leadership. This is us taking our power back. The boss, the captain. Us becoming the leader of our own lives. Us becoming the magician. And as a result, and this is what you're not going to believe, the jackpot. The jackpot in this deck that I'm holding in my hand is literally the same card as the Ten of Pentacles in the tarot. So when I created this deck, this jackpot card is my equivalent of the Ten of Pentacles. I'm just going to throw it down here next to it. So we just came full circle. The divine is saying, you guys are going to get everything. You're going to get everything. If it's the love that you're wanting, you're going to get the love and you're going to get the money anyway. You're going to get the job anyway. If it's the money you want, you're going to get the money, but you're going to get the job anyway. You're going to get the love anyway. Or you're going to get the kids anyway. Whatever it is that you want, whether it's the money, whether it's the love, whether it's the kid, whether it's, your purpose and destiny in life. You get this guy over here. I don't know what he's got there. I don't know if that's a stick of dynamite or what, but I'm just going to assume he's creating something. He's not going to take the dynamite and blow grandpa up here in the chair. Whatever it is. There's a house back there in the distance, a castle, not just a house, a castle. So whatever your main desires are, you're going to get them. And it's here as a promise and a blessing three different times. You have it 1, you have it 2 with the integration card, and you have it 3 with the jackpot card. And that's not even counting the destiny card over here. It's not counting this water card, which is essentially the Ace of Cups. It's not counting this commitment energy and the creation energy. Meaning that these things are coming into creation because you co-created, you co-aligned with the divine. Now, before I end this whole thing and I'm like, okay, cool, we're all done here, I have to say this one last thing. And this is the big but. If you listen to this reading, if you made it here to the end, first, I commend you. If you've made it this far, you need to understand one last thing. Listening to this reading, and then, once you've listened and you've turned it off, there's 2 things that are going to happen, potentially. One of 2 things is going to happen. You're going to completely forget everything that you just heard, and you're going to go back to doing the same exact thing that you were doing before you heard it. That's going to be the temptation, is to just go right back into the patterns of doing whatever you were doing before. And then tomorrow's going to come, the day after, and the day after, and the next thing you know, July is going to be here, and then August is going to be here. And all of a sudden, time keeps going. Time waits for no one. So you can listen to this and turn it off and do nothing, and nothing's going to change. And you're not going to see any of this happen. None of it. And potentially, you might end up in, going all the way back to what I said at the beginning, you could end up in group 1, the people who are going to get their ass handed to them this year. And this could potentially be one of the worst years of their life because they didn't do anything. Despite the fact that they were being told repetitively again and again and again and again and again, hey, this year is no joke. Don't fuck around this year. This is not the year you want to screw around. Like, this is the year you want to take things seriously. So I implore you to not turn this off and go back to doing the same old, same old. What are you going to do when you turn this video off? What is your plan? What's going to change? How are you going to move forward? How are you going to implement change? How are you going to align with the divine? What commitment are you going to make to yourself and to your future and to the things that you desire? What actions are you going to start taking? And if I were you, I would just even if it's the smallest action, any action is better than no action because it creates a connection in your nervous system. At the very least, I would just write something down. Just get a piece of paper, a pen, and don't use your phone. Don't use some electronic device. Actually hand write it down. And you don't have to spend hours doing it. But if you don't have 5 minutes, then you're already doomed. If you don't have 5 minutes to do this, then you're not going to give 5 minutes to changing anything else. I can tell you that. But a quick 5 minutes, even if it's just before you go to sleep or whatever you're doing, and write down, 3 to 5 things that you're going to do, you're going to start doing. Just 3 to 5 things. And then take a piece of tape and tape it on your bathroom mirror or your door, somewhere where you're going to see it. I mean, the bathroom, most people, you go in and you brush your teeth. You got a mirror in there. You're going to be in there for a minute or more. Stick it on there. So when you're brushing your teeth, you can look at that piece of paper and you can be reminded, oh yeah. But doing anything, taking any type of action is better than turning this off and doing nothing. But with that being said, you have to participate. That's why it's called co-create. You have to participate in doing the work. The divine will meet you. That's also why co-create is here. The divine is going to meet you wherever you are. But if you don't put anything out there, the divine has nothing to work with. So you have to do something. You can't just listen to this reading. You can't just listen to tarot readings. Tarot's not going to change your life. This reading's not going to do anything for you. Nobody else out on YouTube land doing tarot is going to do anything for you. Because tarot is not God. Tarot is just cards with paper with art on it. That's there as a tool that can assist you and give you guidance, but guidance is nothing if it's not followed up with action. So you will need to take action on this. You will need to start to do something. And that's all that's needed. Again, going back to the building blocks. You don't have to do it perfect, but you do need to do something. And, I would start sooner than later because time will slip away from us. It's going by so quickly when we're already June. I'm filming this June 2nd. It's going to be, it's going to be September before we know it. Right? We're going to be, the time's flying. So hopefully, I know this was a lot of information to ingest, but I said back in January that when we get halfway through the year, that I was going to do a follow-up for the second 6 months. So from January to June was the first 6 months. So now I've done June to December. All right. And if I feel between now and December to do a checkup or a check-in, I'll do one. But otherwise, this is what the divine wants us to know for those of us who are willing to accept and listen. So I hope this information is helpful for you guys. And if you found this information helpful, if you're still here, you're still watching, if you're new to the channel and this resonates for you, please consider subscribing to the channel. And for those of you who are still confused about what you can do or what to do, that's where a personal or private reading can be very beneficial because we can look at your specific life, your specific challenges, what's specific for you. We can dive into it. We can go as deep as necessary to get answers about the next steps that you should take so that you can maximize your time, your energy, your effort, and so that you can move forward and you can get the things that you need, the things that you desire, the things that you deserve. So that information is there as well. And with that being said, I appreciate you guys. I will see you guys soon. Love and light. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. All the other information is in the description box below. And as always, my friends,
I'm not a bloody psychic.